I'd like to call this meeting of the Darien RTM Parks and Recreation Committee to order. We'll call the roll. Ellen will call the roll call here.
Okay. Vincent?
Here.
Patty? Diane?
Here.
My mic was off. I'm here. I'm waving.
I saw you.
Okay.
Adele? Kim Heiner? Is Kim here?
Yes.
All right, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Alyssa? Here. Yes. Chris? Noonan? There you are. Andy, I saw earlier. There you are. Okay. Carol here yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
There's Sheila.
Okay, so Sandy, I see. Sheila? Sheila here?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. And Shannon is here?
Here.
And Bill.
Sarah Baldwin's just come on.
Okay, Sarah is here. And Bill,
Yes.
thank you. And then Bill,
Yes.
okay. Okay,
That's it. We've got everybody but Cheryl, and she said she'd be a little late. And of course, Chris Taylor has resigned from the RTM and is now a member of the Parks and Rec Commission. So,
Hello, this is Sheila. I didn't think I heard my name.
oh, I checked you. Okay, thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Patty.
I think I answered for you, Sheila. Sorry. Okay. All right. The next, we have approval of minutes of the March 14th meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 14th meeting? Sandy made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Adele,
Are there any corrections or additions?
Who seconded it? I couldn't hear. Who-
Diane
oh,
did.
Alyssa, okay.
Oh, Alyssa, there you go. Sorry.
Sue Ellen, if you can just alter one thing in the minutes from last time, Parks and Rec Department didn't couple with, like they weren't hosting the Mission Possible event. We were just doing a mission in each one of our parks and beaches for Mission Possible. And so I was, Jamie Gore was, liking and helping to promote it, but it wasn't a, official joint venture. So I just want to clarify that.
Okay, I had Parks and Rec is working with the Community Fund in Darien on a project taking place on, so I should alter that?
Okay, well, I guess that's general enough. The first time I read it, right after it came out, it felt like they were, but if you're just saying working with,
Yeah,
I would just, if you could maybe, just so nobody gets sensitive about it, I would just say our parks and beaches are being used with the Mission Possible event done through the Community Fund of Darien. Something to that effect. Thank you.
sorry, I'm still writing. Okay,
Great minutes, though. Thank you for doing them.
sure. Okay,
With that addition, all those in favor, let's see. Is anyone opposed to the amended minutes? Any abstentions? Okay, then that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is discussion and vote on the Board of Finance approved 2022-2023 Park and Rec operating budget and capital improvements. The Board of Finance did approve last night the budget. So I think what I'm going to do is Let me see. I'll give you a little, I'll be quick, okay? How about that? So the budget we're voting on is proposed operating expenditures of $1,652,832 for operating and $130,000 for capital improvements. This is for Parks and Rec. It also includes setting up a program revenue fund in which the revenues are anticipated as $950,000 and the expenses at $675,000, and that any excess, when you subtract the expenses from the revenue, will go into the general fund, but it's no longer tied into the main part of the Park and Rec budget, so it will be easier to manage, and we shall see. I just want to fill you in a little bit about, we did in the end have our buddies with the Board of Finance and F&B members. Our budget committee, which was myself, Patty, and Cheryl, it's the same as last year. Thank you, Cheryl and Patty, for volunteering. We met via Zoom with Dan Baumgartner, and John Walcott from the Board of Finance, and Jenny Schwartz and Barry Baldwin from F&B, which was we had a really good discussion. We really talked about proper funding of the parks, and we talked about the new standards of care, and in particular, ongoing maintenance discussion, and spoke about the Weed Beach paddle and bathhouse exterior painting that probably really should be done. Was not in the capital. It was removed from the capital budget by the town administrator, and then we discussed that maybe it really should have been an operating expense. And there was also interest in tour of the parks by the Board of Finance members. So it was a productive meeting. That was on March 21st. So on the 29th, the Board of Finance reviewed the Parks and Rec operating and capital improvements budget. And Lori Bora spoke, the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission, gave a really nice speech and gave an overview to the Board of Finance on the Standards of Care initiative, including parts of Kara Bonzak's Standards of Care survey report that she made to the commission, which is based on the feedback from the parks tour that a lot of us participated in, as well as pictures of the invasives and the conditions of the buildings at Weed Beach. And so once we left, I was there, Lori was there, and we were in person at the Board of Finance meeting. And later in the meeting, the Board of Finance discussed the weed painting, and at their next meeting, they concluded that the bathhouse and paddle hut painting would best be funded, instead of putting it back into the budget in one form or another. It would be best funded as a special appropriation outside of the budget cycle, probably would be funded from a Board of Finance reserve account. So hopefully we'll be hearing that funding process will start shortly. And as it, obviously it would be really nice to get the paddle hut and the bathhouse painted before the season starts. So last night, the Board of Finance voted on the whole budget, and there were no changes to our operating or capital expenditures, and the overall budget increase was 2.32%, and the mill rate was set at 17.23. So that is what I have to say about the budget. Does anybody have any questions or any comments about, we've gone over the capital and then the I guess I didn't say, yes, I did. Okay. But we went over it a lot. So any other questions from anyone?
I'd just like to say, congrats and thank you, Adele, I think we were really proactive starting back in, September and even October to start to say to the Parks and Rec Commission, hey, these are the things you should be thinking about that we see are projects that need to be funded. And then as we started to get their list, these are ones that maybe we don't think are as much of a priority as the other ones. And I think that was very effective and helped us get a lot of things approved that needed to get approved. And then we're thrilled with that appropriation. It's wonderful that they're going to do it now, separate from the capital, so it can get done hopefully for this summer. That was the plan. So thanks, Adele.
Yeah, I will say that I think that, for everyone that went on that the parks tour last fall, it was very effective. It's a really good opportunity to let the commission members know what you think in a casual setting. And the Board of Finance members that we met with their buddies seemed to be interested in perhaps touring the park. So I think that the commission and the Board of Finance will get together, and that they probably will join us, which will be I think really productive going forward.
Do you
But
think you'll do it again, the tour? Because I wasn't on the committee when you did it last. I would love to do it. Or
We do it each year, Kim, each year.
Sorry?
We do it each year. Lori started it a few years ago, so do it each year, much like when they tour the selectmen and everybody will tour all of the school buildings. Lori had decided that was important to tour the parks, and she chose a few parks the first year and a few different parks the next year. And so again, it'll be great if the Board of Finance, the buddies from the Board of Finance or all of them can tour with us. And if not, we can do it at a different breakout session.
Right.
But it's sometime in the fall.
Yes.
It has been in the past, and they may change that, or they may do it twice a year. I think they're kind of tossing it around, but at any rate, you'll know when they do it. And so, yeah, it's a good thing.
Mhm.
All righty.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So may I have a motion to approve the Park and Rec portion of the operating and capital improvements budget in the 2022-2023?
I'll make a motion.
Have a second.
I'll
The second
second.
is Diane. All those opposed? Speak now. Any abstentions? So that's unanimous, as far as I can see, guys, or hear. Okay, not a lot for a chairman's report here. Threw away mine. There it is. Oh, okay. I'm not at the chairman's report. It's a good thing I looked. Update on commission, committee, and working groups. I don't think that the Pear Tree Working Group met since our last meeting. Is that correct?
It was postponed until after the break because they were waiting for some more feedback.
Okay.
Can I intercede on this? I'm on that committee, and I wanted to bring up something. I wanted to bring up something there that maybe it would be good to bring up now. I witnessed the Parks and Rec meeting with what was it, Coastland, West Coastland, whatever, and coming up with a bid on what the dredging would be in Pear Tree, what the cost would be. And I think the figure reached something between 400 and 700,000. And knowing how these things go, it's going to be 700,000, if not more. But I bring this up because a good friend of mine, I grew up in Darien, and this is a childhood friend of mine, Rick Orsi. He lives in Darien. He's a full-time, and he's an active user of the boat ramp and of the he launches his boat every weekend, most weekends in the summer. So he's an active user. And he came up with a few things that I don't know if they've been thought about. But first thing is that if it's extremely low tide, a prudent boat launcher would wait till the tide is a little higher, not necessarily have to go out at the extreme low at the time. And then the other thing is that he doesn't know how many permit holders there are for launching, but he figures if there are 1,000, something roughly in the order of 100 permit holders, 90% of them, I'll say 90 out of the 100, only use the ramp to launch the boat in the spring and take it out in the fall. And that's a situation where of course you could wait, you time it for the correct tide. I bring this all up because as a boat owner and user of the boat club at one time, I'm not using the boat club now, though I am still a member. My small boat was in the back area, the back ramps of the slips in the at the boat club, and that was an active user. In other words, the boat club is an active user of the proposed area that was going to be dredged. I think much more participation of the boat club users than there are people who are launching their boats from the ramp. And all of this comes up to the point where, are we getting good value for the money putting in a $700,000 dredging project that may be better to maybe assist at some future date the boat club on doing that at a much smaller level, because they're the ones that get most of the benefit anyways.
Okay.
It's something that I was thinking of bringing up but it was canceled, the meeting. I was thinking of bringing that up as something to be surveyed among permit holders. How many of you permit holders use it just to launch it once in the spring and retrieve it in the fall? And how many of you are active users, say launching it every weekend? Something in that weekends.
Sandy, can you?
To get an idea of just how necessary the dredging is.
I hear you. It sounds like a good question for the survey.
Family launches every weekend. And I don't know why you'd want the boat ramp not to be a functioning boat ramp in the correct way that it should function. It's a selling point to the town too. I mean, you want a boat ramp that functions. Even the sailboats have a hard time. I mean, it's hard for them.
I'm talking about dredging. Are we talking about the ramp?
But if you don't dredge, the boat ramp is not functioning in the way it should function.
It's not clear. I'm sorry, it's just not clear to me. Why is that so? That is so.
All right, well, it just makes it difficult. Like you said, if you're at low tide, it's hard to launch the boat. If it was dredged, that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, but if you're launching a sailboat, you're not going to be trying to do this at low tide. What I'm just saying is that people who launch boats, if 90% of the people using the permit to launch boats are only doing it twice a year, once they launch it and once they retrieve it in the fall, I just don't think $700,000 is well spent on that very tiny group that must have access to it at low tide.
Okay. All right, guys. I think it's a good suggestion for the next meeting of the Pear Tree group you go to. People will have, I think the monies, if I'm remembering it right, the monies, well, but I can't remember exactly, so I'm not gonna say, but I think you're right, and the town their dredging would be a part of it, not not all of it, but yeah, the dollars. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Adele?
Yes.
Adele?
Yes.
That location of the ramp is because of the terrain there in the mud flats. That is not necessarily the ideal location for any type of ramp. And it's basically there just for those people that have to put their boats in once a year and take them out once a year. To say you have to have it accessed 24/7 for somebody is it's not a reasonable request, I don't think, considering the location of it and being that it's mostly mud flats there.
All right. Thank you guys for your input. We'll pass it all along to the Pear Tree Working Group. That's the whole point of it. Everybody to get what their knowledge and put it all together. Okay, the invasives did meet. Yes, Patty?
Yes, we met.
You want to give a little blurb on it?
Just real quick, Mary Morgan, Amy Doring from the Parks and Rec Commission, plus Lori Bora, as well as Laura Mosier, who was our longtime RTM a representative who is a master gardener. She's the one who took us on a walk. She joined us for you all who were on the Parks and Rec Commission tour back in the fall. She walked through and, showed us where the invasives were really choking out so many of the trees, and described how this is not a just do it one and done. It's a long-term plan. We have to maintain them, and we have to plan for them. We also walked with Jimmy Ma, who's a tree expert who has tagged, is tagging all the trees in Cherry Lawn, so we know exactly what kind of trees they are, which is amazing. He's doing that for free just because he loves trees. And then the other two gentlemen that were with us were the people that Pam Geary is interested in hiring to help us take out the invasives. They were with the company who did some of the invasive removals down at Weed Beach for the Weed Beach Meadow and Trail. They've since done a breakaway company. So quite honestly, I wasn't sure if they were going to be newbies, but they were very experienced and very, very impressive. The one guy had been, working for a very large company that did a lot of work out of Stanford and Norwalk for over 10 plus years, highly trained. Everybody asked a lot of questions, and they were informative. So likely when we move forward on this, that will be the company that we do business with. So that's the update. And when we have more, we'll let you know. Thank you.
Super, super. You know what? When Lori was giving her speech to the in which she was talked about invasives as well to the Board of Finance at that budget hearing, I had the feelings that not everybody really understood what made a plant an invasive. So as you guys go forward, if you can define that so everybody will understand it, I think that probably would be productive.
Sure. And, we, I think it was around last February, the first time I walked with, it was Tiara at the time before she moved south, and Mary Morgan, we walked with Laura Mosier. She did a 4-page printout of exactly descriptions, photos, etc. So I can pull that up and send that to you, Adele, to send out again, because we have, a fair amount of new people.
Yeah, got new people.
So that'd be really informative. And those are specific to Cherry Lawn. So just as a recap, we had originally asked, or the commission had originally asked for $40,000 to help to work on maintenance for the parks in terms of the landscaping and the invasives and maintaining it. That got cut down to $18,000 by our town administrator, Kate Bush, because her feeling was, it's a first time project, so let's really focus on one or two parks and see how it goes. And then we can add more into the budget for future years. So that's where we are. But if you read, a lot of the articles about how much Stanford is spending, like I think 150 or $250,000 just to start exploring their invasives. So their number is much bigger. So, and Westport is doing it, Fairfield is doing it. So we're not alone. We have to save our trees and, all the area around the ponds. And so in order to do that, we really need to, be careful with these invasives and do our best to try and get rid of them or trim them down as much as we can and maintain them.
Right, I think we have $8,000 in the budget for this, and in this upcoming budget just for that.
The removal.
The playground group, did you all meet on the 28th, or was that postponed?
We meet tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
We met. I think I probably already gave the update at the last meeting.
Yeah,
So the only just quick update is we have 2 new people that are joining. Alyssa, of course, is on it with us. Thank you. And then Susan from the Parks and Rec Commission, and Curtis Butler from District 1, who is a handicapped child, very severely handicapped child. And so he has very kindly agreed to be almost like our ADA compliant person, to tell us, but from a user-friendly, hey, we've been to every playground around. This is what works. This is what doesn't. This is what we recommend. So he will be invaluable from that end. Plus, he's a financial guy, so he'll also recognize the cost-benefit ratio of how much do we want to spend, on a lot of these parks, and how much is too much, and what we can do, and what's the nice to have and what's the need to have. And then we have 2 additional people that joined us. The goal was to have somebody from each elementary school, and we had the addition of a person from Hinley, an additional person from Tokenique as well. So we'll give you an update after the next meeting.
You got Sarah and Alyssa from our.
Yes, of course, they're on.
Yeah.
Yep. I said Alyssa and Sarah. Mm-hmm.
And all, if you've been on the Park and Rec long enough, you'd know that actually Curtis Butler was on Park and Rec for several years. So it's nice to have him involved.
And as you all know, the ARPA money was approved, and so that's a good amount of dough, so to speak. We have money to really redo McGuan Playground, Cherry Lawn, both playgrounds, and Baker. And all things being equal, we won't be doing all 3 at the same time. Looks like McGuan will likely be the priority, and that will go out first, and then we'll go from there. So it's exciting news, and maybe a silver lining, unfortunately, through the pandemic, that we were able to get all this ARPA money and move through some of these big capital items that we would not have been able to get done for multiple years.
The last of the working groups is the Weed Beach group, and they will be meeting on April 19th at 4 p.m. So that's the update on the working groups. Any other comments? Okay. I just wanted to mention in my chairman's report that the concessions at the beaches, we discussed last time that we thought Abellis would be the concessionaire at Pear Tree, and that they were in process of negotiations with the Park and Rec Department was. And so if you weren't didn't make it to the commission meeting, Pam Geary announced that they will be doing the concessions, but we'll not be charging them a fee, or they won't be a percentage. Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl's joined us now. We won't be charging a fee because they really don't know if they're going to make any money, I think, is the bottom line. So what we'll do is they will be providing the concessions. Then at the end of the season, they'll have a good look at how it went and figure out how we're going to do it moving forward. But that's how we could get concessions at Pear Tree. So that was well done, at least in my opinion. Shannon, the next on my list was the commission meeting, an update on the commission meeting this evening. So I'm going to ask Shannon Silsby to take over here and give us an overview. Shannon? She's here still.
Hi.
There you go.
Hi, I had to have my camera off. How are you?
I'm good.
So I'm the project manager, volunteer project manager for the Darien Heritage Trail, which was a gift to the town, a 200th birthday gift, at the bicentennial. And it was funded by the Darien Foundation. So I've worked together with Al Miller, who is the chair of our town bicentennial committee. And we have a 9-marker trail. I don't know if anyone's seen the first 3 markers that went up at Museum of Darien, the First Congregational Church, and the Mather Homestead. Has anyone seen those by chance?
Yep.
They're 2 by 3 on 2 posts, and permanent markers, fully graffiti free, warranted, beautiful markers that tell, we hope, the story of 9 parts of the Darien story. So 4 of the markers are on town property, 5 are on private property, 1 is on a park property. And so Tilly Pond is that marker. And just tonight we had the content approved. The marker itself was approved well before the pandemic in 2019. But the content was approved today by the Parks and Rec Commission. So that's exciting. We will be sending it along with the other 5 markers to press. And June 10th or 11th, probably the 10th for Tilly, we'll be unveiling the marker in Tilly Pond. It will sit to the right of the ice house. So if you're standing looking directly at the ice house, it'll be to the right. And that marker creative was sent out by Adele at the end of March. If you had a chance to look at it, I'm happy to take any questions about it. It tells the story of Tilly Pond from it being George Dudley Tilley's home till it became a part of our town when it was sold by his widow to the town in the early 70s. And along the way, how the pond itself became renowned as the train would travel by each day, and how today it's, a gem right in the center of town. So happy to take any questions.
I thought it was really interesting about all the birds. I mean, that was hugely interesting. I never knew that all the years I've lived here.
It's wild. Know that there's a QR code in the bottom of each of the 9 markers that leads to a mini site that's being hosted at the Museum of Darien. And that QR code and that mini site were incepted to really drive the accessibility of the trail, whether it be physical accessibility, someone's physically not here but interested in the trail and its stories, or perhaps it's an accessibility, maybe it's someone who has a sight difference. Instead, they can listen to oral histories that we have. We have the first 3 markers have oral histories that will be loaded on this site, and we'll be working on oral histories for the remainder of the markers over the next couple of months, but really wanted to make sure we could really drive reach with this project.
How did you determine what places to put the markers in the first place?
That's the trail. We're going to unveil it again the next 6 on Friday the 10th and Saturday the 11th. There is a marker that's going to be on Hindley property that the Board of Ed has approved because there during the Revolutionary.
Oops, you're freezing.
We're having trouble. You're breaking up, Shannon, unfortunately.
So you're frozen there. Did you ask how were they determined?
Yeah, I was just wondering how all the marker sites were determined in the first place. I know it's a while ago, but I'm just interested in that history.
And also, now you're
I can't hear you.
so
Was
now
that-
you're
Was
sorry.
that from working with Ken, the historian, the town historian, Shannon? Yeah.
Good question. It was a while ago. Good question, because there are more than 9 sites. Absolutely. Yeah, so it was a combination. Obviously, there's far more than 9 sites, but that was what the grant that was allotted, 9 sites. So we had to make some hard decisions. And yes, along with Ken Reese, who is the author of The History of Darien. I don't know, The Story of Darien, Connecticut. Does everyone know this book? Ken is the historian at the Museum of Darien. So yes, he weighed in. Of course, the Bicentennial Committee led by Al Miller weighed in. And know that the trail was built to be expandable. So if there are other markers that want to be added and there are organizations that want to add them, or if the town wants to add them, that can be done, you know, by another body. I don't know where it probably would go to monuments and ceremonies, because these are considered monuments now that they'll be in the ground.
Cool.
Unveil the trail. Great job, Shannon. So proud that you were part of this.
Unveil the trail. It was fun.
Cool. Yeah, well, it's a lot
Thank you.
it was clearly a lot of work too, so thank you very much. Thank you. Glad it passed. I was sure it would. The last thing I have, well, not the last thing, but I did want to tell you about that there has been an incident at Woodland Park where an off-leash dog attacked a dog that was on leash, and so there's a police report is being filed about it. And so I just wanted to let you know that the commission chairman plans to revisit with the police to ask for support on enforcement. And so I think it's through word of mouth. It's obviously not the first time it's happened, and it's a little frustrating for the commission, but they shall revisit it with the police and see where they go from here.
Adele, can I make a comment on about dogs? Not so much this particular incident, but I've had several people come up to me to complain about loose dogs at Cherry Lawn by the pickleball courts that have roamed across the pickleball courts when people are playing. People that they believe are working at the Darien Nature Center who come in and just open their car doors and let the dogs run and park their cars, and the cars stay there. Then the dogs come back, they put the dogs in the car, and it clearly they think must be somebody that works at the Nature Center because the car is there for a long time. But the dogs are off leash, not in the right areas and not in the designated times. And especially these dogs running through the pickleball courts without an owner has been a problem.
So Sue Ellen, do you think are you saying you think it might be somebody who works at the Darien Nature Center who has a dog because it's an existing car there?
There are 2 incidents. I think somebody that works at the Darien Nature Center, and there's also somebody that uses the pickleball courts that comes with their dog and just lets the dog run all over while they're playing pickleball.
Well, then I would recommend, you know, someone calling the Darien Nature Center, or I can go and talk to them tomorrow. And then, you know, if I ever personally, because I do go to Cherry Lawn, see somebody with their dog loose running on a pickleball court, I'll say, don't do that, or you're going to lose your privileges. We can say that to Steve O'Connell, who runs the whole pickleball program.
Right.
Diane?
I have been walking at Highland Farms recently with my dog and sometimes without him. And there are people over there who are complaining also. And basically, I have told them to call the first selectman and the commission, because the commission really takes care of the property, but the park itself is under the Board of Selectmen. They have talked to me about bags not being there. I've told them there's a budget for that. And once the bags are used, you know, that's it for the season, but you can bring your own. The dog warden is back very recently, is my understanding. So perhaps we can get people at these parks at certain times, because I've seen the dogs. I've had them come at me. Other people are complaining about them at Highland Farms too. I did read on the Darien Mom site about the dog that was attacked. His ear was taken off, or part of it, or whatever. And other people are talking on that site about children being attacked there by dogs and not wanting to walk through there. And I think that's really a shame. If we have a rule we should be following the rule.
Kathy, I forget how to
Mulgrove PD or
is
something.
the
yeah.
one that you should contact, because she is the liaison for the Parks and Rec Commission on the dog thing, and she lives over by Woodland. So I would say if you have maybe funnel that information to her.
Or send it to the chairman of the Parks and Rec Commission. I think everything's funneled usually through the commission, through the chairman. And I think all those complaints should do that. And frankly, people, if there are issues, they should make a report. I mean, at this point, you almost have to document some things to get some action, I believe. So it's happening, and it's not good. And people probably should realize that if you abuse a privilege enough, that the privilege is likely to go away.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we say at Cherry Lawn in the morning when I'm there early. Everybody self-polices. They make sure people are picking up. They make sure, people are responsible for their dogs in that area. But those are sad times. And then if it's once in a while, it'll be somebody who's coming in from Row 8 or Norwalk or New Canaan. They don't know the rules. People tell them, and if they're not following them, then they kind of shoo them out. So I can't speak for Woodland because I don't go there, but I would. That's why I said I know Kathy lives over by there. There's many people who do the right thing, but for the people who do not do the right thing,
Right.
they need to be told, or they need to be fined. So
That seems to be an ongoing thing at Woodland Park, though, because we read about it, we hear about it all the time, particularly at Woodland. But it is sad when people are saying they like to go through there and look at nature with their children, and they won't do it anymore because of dogs running at the kids.
Yeah.
And so maybe one of the things they have to figure out there is if the balance, and I'm not pushing for this because again, I don't go to Woodland, but maybe if it's a lot of people who do go and enjoy their walks with the dogs in the morning, there's some kind of hours, or that's a huge park. Maybe they can do a section of the park where they can be walking with their dogs off leash during a very specific time.
That's not possible.
No, not
That
possible.
is not possible.
But maybe not. I am just saying
That is town property, and the other half of it's Dunlap property.
No,
Is
we're not talking about that.
We're talking about
Woodland, Bill.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. I can answer that question. It doesn't matter because Woodland is a nature preserve.
That is correct.
Therefore, dogs are not allowed off leash because they can do damage. So that's the reason why they're. So anyway, let's face it, to be continued, right? But everybody should be vigilant, and please, when you hear something, report it. Okay. Just wanted to let you know. That's really it. Except for, I thought maybe some people might be interested. That's all I have to report, really. People might be interested. It's either on a chairman's report or other business. But I thought you might have some comments to make on the town. The town is so they announced at the selectmen's meeting. The selectmen voted on Monday night to give the first selectman the ability to negotiate for the purchase of the Great Island. So that process begins, and I thought perhaps that some of people might want to talk about.
Yeah, I do have a question about that. I just heard that today. Is there a particular portion or amount of land as part of the property that they're negotiating for?
I've heard 60 acres, and then initially it was 63, but 60 acres is what I've heard.
And isn't the whole property like 120 something or?
Yes, but it's the Steinkrause's part. So that's the 60 acres. That is up for, that had been offered for 175, and then they dropped it to 100, and that's when there started to be more interest from all around. And so as you saw on Monday, it was they voted to be able to discuss and have negotiations. I mean, it might be a moonshot because that's a lot of money, but it's also a once in a lifetime piece of property. And boy, could we do amazing walking trails there, and, programming, nature programming, yoga, I mean, things like that down there. Some little access could be amazing, but it's a lot of money. So there's a long process to see if that
So
works out.
Just to be clear
Hello?
though, hang on, just a second, just to be clear though, this is to negotiate.
Yes.
If for the town to buy something, you all know what has to happen. It has to go to the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and the RTM for the purchase. So just so everyone is clear on that.
But we're talking about the portion it's starting at 100 million. Is that's part of the 100 million? Was the 100 million for the 127 acres, 127?
I don't think so.
Acres is the 100.
It's for 60.
I'm familiar with the property, and I think it'll be a wonderful thing for the town to buy it. It includes the palazzo, the huge building that it could be the Waveney of Darien, which would be pretty spectacular. And then the horse facilities, I don't know exactly how Darien's going to be able to handle the horse facilities, but it would be a beautiful park. I'm super in favor of it.
The riding stable has the roof inside the riding stable is the Gustav roof done with tiles. So if you go into Grand Central and you look up and you see a lot of the amazing tiles, it's done by the same person. So there's a lot of really unique architecture and history kind of tied throughout that area.
Adele?
Yes.
That's
Bill?
fascinating.
Yes, Bill?
Is there a map at the town hall showing this area?
The only thing, what I've seen is the promo for the sale of it, which was on Facebook, but I'm sure there will be something, available to everyone.
I
In
think
other words,
there's a program on
79.
channel 79.
79.
Yes,
I thought they said it was on tonight at 8:30. Am I correct? Showing this property?
It's running.
This is Elisa. You can go on Vimeo too for channel 79, and it's on Vimeo. You could pull it up anytime.
Thank you.
great, thanks. There you go, Bill.
thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Oh, I said that wrong, I think. Okay,
Adele,
anybody else?
Adele, I have a question. I have a question for Vince. When I looked at this map on the internet and the sale of this piece of property, this included all of the property, correct? It include Great Island, straight out if you're coming down Rings End Road and you go straight across, okay?
Correct. That's
All right.
right.
All of that property. Then if you
Yeah.
go up Long Neck Point Road, the property to your left, correct, where the sheep
That's called
used-
Hay Island, which is
That's
not part
Hay-
of the deal.
It's not.
Is that the part that is not for sale then, in other words?
Hay Island is not for sale, and that's the other half. I mean, the whole Ziegler estate, including Ziegler and Steinkraus, is about 100 acres, whatever number. And Great Island is the 60 odd acres, and Hay Island is the rest.
So straight in off Rings End Road, that includes the
That's-
boathouse, includes the stables, it includes Steinkraus house and everything else. But then in another piece of information, if you go up Long Neck Point, okay, past Pear Tree Road on your right, and you take that road on your left.
And it's a
out-
causeway, that's a causeway down to Hay Island. That's
And-
not part of the deal.
That's not, okay, because that's what they show on the real estate broker's list. So that's where I was confused.
That wouldn't be part of the deal.
Okay, so it's just straight
Great
in.
Island represents
Correct.
a lifetime opportunity to secure a dream lifestyle and
Somebody put it on.
Sorry, guys.
All right.
Okay. Well,
think
Vincent,
you-
that's really helpful that you know so much about it.
Whose phone is ringing?
It's gone now.
I believe that the woman still lives there. One of the Ziegler daughters still lives on Hay Island, which is
Right.
probably why it's not for sale. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
That sounds correct.
Right. They redid that house a few years ago. And that is over the causeway and out there. But that the real estate agents that I looked at and the pieces of property I looked at had both of them in there. And I'm like, that's not 60 acres. Can't possibly be.
Right.
Okay, thanks, Vincent.
Yeah, thank you.
It sounds like
Anybody
it's a
else?
nice place for a Darien Heritage Trail marker.
Absolutely.
Good call,
Oh,
Shannon.
there's the town, and there's the town swimming pool.
Well, I hope if we buy it, it won't be Coney Island.
Okay, Bill. That's a fight to be fought later on.
It certainly will be.
Okay. Oh, does anybody have any other business? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, who was the first? I didn't see, I was writing. Sorry. Who made the
Dan.
motion to adjourn?
I did.
Kim,
Kim did.
That's-
And who's the
Okay.
second?
Who's the second? Sandy.
Andy
Okay.
Savage.
Sandy,
Okay.
second. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, guys, nice meeting.